If you're building automations thinking you're going to get rich, you're about to get a reality check that's going to hurt. Today, I'm going to destroy every automation fantasy you have and show you why nothing seems to be working and why businesses don't want your automation and what you should actually be doing to make real money in this space. My name is Sal. I've scaled a sales automation agency to 139K a month, so I know what works and what doesn't, which means I've seen every mistake you're about to make. So let's get into it.
I want you to imagine that there's two drivers. Okay, this is you, driver 1, and this is another person, driver 2. They both want to go to a destination, okay? And this is the destination. Now, suddenly, in your path to that destination, let's say the GPS dies, it's getting dark, and you've never been in that place. And you're also running out of gas, okay? So you come across 3 paths, okay? So let's imagine these are 3 paths. This is path 1, this is path 2, and this is path 3. The other driver also comes across 3 paths, 1, 2, 3. So these paths, both of you need to go through in order for you to get to the destination. Let's imagine that path 1 goes left into the trees. Path 2 goes right to what looks like a valley. And path 3, you don't even know what that is, okay? You don't even know where it's going to lead you to. Now, driver 2 picks one random path and gets moving, okay? Whatever direction he chose gets him closer to finding out what's real. If the first path is wrong, he chooses another. So what he's actually doing is he's gathering actual data about where those roads lead. Meanwhile, you, driver 1, you're literally staring there thinking and researching, and you're trying to optimize which path might theoretically be the best while your gas burns out and darkness falls. Let's say 3 hours later, well, driver 2 already found the destination. Let's call this civilization. Okay? 3 hours later, he already found the civilization. He already got into his destination. And you are still sitting at the intersection with an empty tank. And you're surrounded by darkness and you're convincing yourself you're being strategic. So that's exactly your spot right now, is that you are literally stuck there. You're not picking any path, and you rather just mentally masturbate rather than actually picking just one path and changing direction as you go. And by the way, if you are in this spot right now, don't feel bad about it, because I was there when I first got started, okay? And this is the main reason why you can't get to 10K a month or 15K a month or 20K a month with AI automation or sales systems or automation in general, okay? That's the main reason why you can't do it. And this is the main reason why you are broke. So first of all, let me explain the psychology behind it, because once you understand that, well, you can get to the root of the problem, okay? So right now, your brain gets the same dopamine rush from trying to build automation all day than it gets from actually making money. So I want you to really, really give that some thought. This really, really hits hard, right? So let me just say that again. Your brain gets the same dopamine rush from trying to build automations all day than it gets from actually making money. So what you've really done is that you trained yourself to mistake learning for earning. You've trained yourself to mistake learning for earning. So you feel accomplished after watching hours of automation gurus, but you haven't made a single dollar. Because as I always say, it's always easier to compare NA10 versus Make.com for the 47th time than to actually doing outreach and talking to prospects that actually can pay you 2 to 3, 4K. It's much easier to compare tools, right? Rather than actually doing the work, because that's how you actually feel safe, okay? Because that's how you stay in your comfort zone, okay? This is how you actually feel safe. So if you peel back the layers, you're not just overthinking, you're literally avoiding pain, okay? You're literally avoiding pain. And it usually starts like this. You're like, okay, I'm going to try to sell automation. Okay, I'm going to try to sell AI sales systems, okay? So you feel that spark, you get that fire inside you, and you say, well, this time I will actually sell it. And then this voice comes to your head, and you start thinking, well, maybe I should niche down first. Wait, what if this offer isn't good enough? Actually, let me just brainstorm for a little bit. 2 weeks of telling yourself that you are being strategic, but in reality, you are scared. What you're really avoiding is 1, failing publicly, and 2, facing rejection. It's like you staying in a cave, sharpening swords that you will never, ever swing. So now that you understand the psychology behind this, and you know the reasons of this behavior, then you know the reasons of this tendency, because in order for you to fix analysis paralysis or fix any problem really is you really need to get down to the root of it, because that way you're more aware of it. You can acknowledge it. And once you can acknowledge analysis paralysis, well, that's the first step of fixing it, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly how I cured analysis paralysis for good, okay? Because I used to have this exact problem when I first got started. So back then when I first got started, well, I started off as a freelancer. So I tried selling any automation that you can think of. Well, later on I got banned, but that's beside the point. So I tried selling everything, okay? I tried to be that restaurant that tries to serve every dish possible, okay? I tried selling chatbots, tried selling AI proposal generators, I tried selling all this crazy stuff, right? So I was making around like 5K a month, and then the next month I would be making $500 simply because people did not post gigs on Upwork of the services that I was actually providing. So it was very, very unpredictable. So you got like 1 month where you're making 1K, and the next month you're making $500. The next month there's like $0 because nobody's actually posting jobs, which is very, very scary, okay? And then I noticed that 99% of my gigs were actually sales systems, cold email systems, basically the same systems that I show you guys in this channel, okay? Then it hit me. And I wish I had somebody like tell me this from the get-go, because I would avoid analysis paralysis, because analysis paralysis happens when you are so overwhelmed with all these shiny automations, all these shiny ideas, that you can't really just pick one and stick to it because you just don't know what's going to work, okay? So I wish somebody actually told me this. I wish somebody told me that a business making 50K a month doesn't give a shit about saving 2 hours on proposals, okay? And a business making 5K a month is 1 bad month from bankruptcy. So which problem, let's just think about it. Which problem do you think they'll pay to solve? Let me give you a relatable example. So a restaurant, okay? So do you think a restaurant wants customers that come through the door, or do you really think they need a chatbot that nurtures email sequences? Just give that some thoughts. So in order for you to avoid analysis paralysis is you go straight where the pain is. Literally go straight where the money is, okay? The bees go where the honey is. So just be a bee, okay? Just be normal, okay? Just go ahead and go straight to solving real life problems, which is client acquisition. Why are you trying to sell things that people don't want, don't need, and can't afford? And by the way, the market has already told you what it wants. You're just not listening carefully, okay? You're not listening because, to be fair, gurus sold you a fantasy that's easier to believe than the work required to actually solve the real problem. So ask yourself, so if companies raised millions to build proposal generation software and onboarding systems, why do you think a company would buy your AI proposal generator? Just give that some thought. Why do you think a company would choose to buy from you? Because I think it's sort of silly. I think it's sort of stupid to think that your NA10 workflow is gonna beat them. Okay? Do you think that your NA10 AI agent is gonna replace a 100 million company software that raised millions and hired 10,000 developers specifically solve that problem for these companies? And then you're just going to go ahead and reach out to them and say, hey, would you like to buy this AI proposal generator? Or would you like to buy this AI agent that fixes your onboarding? Of course not. So that's the main reason why you'll never see me try to show you automation just for the sake of the hype, or try to show you automation just for the sake of automation. Because I know it's not going to make you any money, and I know it's not solving a real life problem, okay? I mean, think about it. We are in business, okay? We are in business to make money. And I'm assuming you're like me, you are in business and you are in the AI and automation space to actually make money, okay? So it really saddens me that I see a lot of talented freelancers, and I see a lot of people who have actual talent, even if they are beginners, okay? But they are wasting time and staring at the screen 24 hours a day rather than actually being profitable. If I had to stare, like I don't know about you, but if I had to stare 24 hours at the screen and still not be profitable, then I'd rather just spend that time elsewhere. I'll just go outside and have fun, okay, with my friends and stay with my family, okay? Like I would rather do that. I get it if you're being profitable, okay? Because there are seasons in life, and I have this multiple times a year where I have like a season of like really locking myself down and I'm being very locked in and focusing on business, okay? But at the end, I'm profitable, okay? But if I had to do the same work, right, or stare at the screen 24 hours while not being profitable, I'd rather just go outside. Like, I'd rather do something else. Like, why would I waste time and energy? Why would I waste my life doing this? Just think about it. You're literally wasting your time trying to build this cool, fancy automation, but you're not profitable. So if a business wanted your automation solutions, they would already bought it. They wouldn't buy it from like 1,000 companies that built them professionally, okay? So what you're doing here is you're not solving a real life problem and you're trying to sell automation that people don't want, don't need, and can't afford. It's kind of like a doctor that is offering cosmetic surgery to someone who is bleeding out. It doesn't really make any sense, okay? Because it's fundamentally broken. And you're sitting there trying to make it work, which is, again, it's a human tendency that, I get it, okay? You've invested time and energy, maybe some money, and you've invested in that idea. And you're like, okay, maybe if I just pour a little bit more, if I just stayed a little longer, then it will work. Well, it will never work because it's fundamentally broken, okay? And there's this human tendency that we believe something is going to work because we've invested time and energy into it. But you can tell yourself, I can avoid all this misery and I can afford to live another life where I'm not obsessed with this thing that doesn't make me any money and go straight where the money is. Like, just go where the money is. Like, why are you trying to force this thing? Stop trying to force things that don't work. Like, they are fundamentally broken, fundamentally doesn't work. So just like I said, it's kind of like a doctor trying to perform cosmetic surgery to someone who is bleeding out, okay? And you're telling them, well, I know you are dying, but do you want me to automate your chatbot? No, they want to live. And in our case, a business wants to live. And what is the oxygen of a business? So it's customers. So literally just give them customers and make money off of that. And now you're at 10 to 25K a month, okay? 10K is just a number, right? You're going to get there anyway, okay? So fix the problem and 10K is going to come. Don't fixate on the 10K. Fixate on solving the real problem and the money is going to come anyway, okay? So now that you understand that you need to avoid analysis paralysis, and the way to avoid analysis paralysis is to go straight to where the money is and literally fixing a real life problem. Now, the only thing you have to do is avoid analysis paralysis and get out there, take action. I believe in you, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.